It wasn't just an Italian playing the character that was important. It was what that character was saying and what he stood for. That's what started generating a lot of heat. I never thought of coming back. I was done.
You got fired for being too good of a heel.
Too controversial for WWE.
You're not Arab American.
I am 100% Sicilian.
What made you not want to stay in wrestling?
It was fun while it lasted, but it wasn't for me. This is not real life.
You've been working as an educator.
I liked history. That's how I started teaching.
Did you not win the Intercontinental Championship?
That's the only belt I've ever won in the WWE, and I had it for at least 5 seconds.
If you were my principal, I would never mess with you.
I've only put 6 or 7 kids through tables.
Do people still recognize you when you're down there?
Yeah, believe it or not. Yeah, they do.
I mean, of course I believe it.
I think a lot of people had their old yearbook signed, so they see my picture in the yearbook.
Yeah.
And then they recognize me.
I just feel like there should have been a gimmick photo behind you so people could immediately go, oh, that's the guy.
Like a before and after picture. Like this is 20 years of aging.
I mean, you look great.
Oh, thank you.
Look at the size of this man, ladies and gentlemen.
Thank you.
Feel like you could step back into the ring right now.
I absolutely cannot step back. I would shatter into a million pieces, I think, as soon as I took one. But I threw my back out 2 weeks ago picking up my nephew. I blew my hamstring racing my daughter on the beach. Like, it's just amazing as you get older. Like, you just pile up injuries for no good reason. Like, I wish I had a good story for how I threw my back out. Like, I mean, I could squat and I could bench, and then I'm just getting out of the car and doing this and like, boom, gone. Like, it's scary.
Did any of the people that you used to work with see you and maybe it took them a second?
Oh, Gene Snitsky recognized me right away. I went over to see Boogeyman. How could you not? And we started OVW 20 years ago, and it took him a few minutes. Well, not a few minutes, it took him a few seconds. Like, he looked at me and I'm shaking his hand and I'm like, it's Hassan. He's like, oh my God. Like a huge reaction. I'm like, yeah, dude, I know. I'm a lot older.
But it's not to say you don't look that much different. It's you've been away from wrestling for so long that people, I think, aren't expecting to see you. That's what it is.
This is, I think, the first one I've done 5 years, maybe. I don't know. Feels
since
like
the last one we did.
Well, no, not the first interview. The first
autograph
con signing. Yeah, I did one. I think it was in Houston, like 6 or 7 years ago with Sean. And this is the first time I've been back since. It's fun. It's a lot of fun.
Do you want to do more?
Yeah, maybe. Maybe a couple. Well, you know, I have 4 kids, and my son has a basketball tournament in Albany right now, so I'm missing that. My daughters have a soccer game back home in Syracuse. So we're busy. Weekends are usually booked solid. So I would rather do that stuff than come and do this stuff.
So for people who don't know, your life after wrestling, what you've been doing for the last 20 years, you've been working as an educator.
I started as a teacher, then I became an assistant principal, and then I became a principal, and now I am the director of human resources in the Fulton City School District.
So does every student just go, you'll never believe who my teacher or principal is?
The ones who like wrestling, yeah. It's funny because my son's 9 and he's on that basketball team, and his friends are all huge wrestling fans. Like, I'm signing things for him. Sean actually got him tickets to the show in Syracuse last week. They had a blast, and my son could, it's like, just put basketball on. Like, none of my kids are really into it, which I'm completely fine with. But it's funny because he's at that age now where I start getting into wrestling, and he's just, not a big fan, I guess.
Did you always have a passion for education?
I liked history. That's how I started teaching. I liked history, and I liked talking about history, and I liked social studies. And yeah, I did have a passion for education, absolutely. But that's what kind of got me into it initially. That's what I wanted to do. And then once I became a teacher, I kind of immediately went and got my CAS, Certificate of Advanced Study in Educational Leadership. I kind of felt like I wanted to do more. I wanted to be outside of the classroom, working with kids, working with students, which is what I do now in a different capacity. I work with staff. Now I'm on the business end of education, but I like it so far. It's a big change, but it's been fun.
If you were my principal, I would never mess with you because of, what do you weigh these days?
I've only put like 6 or 7 kids through tables.
You probably still weigh like 230 maybe?
Yeah, probably like 220.
Oh, just 220.
That's all I do is work out. We've talked about that.
You might be the fittest principal in the country.
I'm definitely probably the fittest director of human resources.
There's probably not a lot of those.
Yes.
Yeah.
But all I do is work out, counting macros. I run every day. It's just something that I've always loved to do. And it really kind of gives me a break from everything else. And I'm locked. I don't talk to anybody at the gym. Like, you might get a wave out of me, not because I'm mean, but because that's just why I'm there. I'm there to work out and escape and listen to music and kind of decompress. And I'll go to the gym 6-7 times. So it gets hard for me to take a day off. And then on my days off, I'm still running. So I still like that physical aspect of being human. But at the same time, if I think about going into the ring and trying to be physical in there, like the guys that can do it at my age, the Randy Ortons out there, like the ones that are still wrestling, Absolutely amazing. Like Shelton, I was hanging out with Shelton Benjamin last night, and he's a little older than me, but he's still an athlete in the ring. Like I just couldn't imagine doing that.
Do you still follow wrestling?
Not really. No. A little bit. I know, I'll check it out here and there. It'll pop up on my Instagram feed and I'll watch videos. But I don't really watch the show, not because I don't want to, just I really don't have time. The only time I get to watch TV is in my bed at like 10 o'clock at night.
Yeah. Your career is so fascinating to me because you might be the only wrestler who got fired for being too good of a heel.
Someone had said too controversial for WWE, which I kind of like because that is a distinguishment right there.
Yeah.
And it was definitely a controversial character. And I feel like I played it pretty well. I was talking about this last night. It was very hard to get into character with Shawn because everywhere we went, we kind of faced that. I mean, it was still pretty fresh after 9/11. And we would go to the airport and Shawn would always be randomly checked at every single airport. And it'd be very annoying because then we'd have to run to our flight. So I kind of used that as my anger. Obviously more things than that, but it was very easy to fall into that character and be able to speak the truth about what I saw because that was what was happening back then. And again, that character would never fly today. It kind of had to stay in its time. And I think it's kind of cool for me, doing something completely different that character still stays as controversial.
It's just amazing. You're one of the biggest what ifs in WWE history. Mm-hmm. The amount of momentum that character had, the amount of heat that character had, and then out of nowhere, just like that, it all comes to a screeching halt.
It would have been gone, I think, within a couple of years. The world really started changing. The things that we were doing in wrestling back then would never fly today, and that was definitely one of them. So, I mean, what if? Yeah, I'm happy where I am now, so I never really think of it like that. Now this is fun. Like, this is extra stuff for me to be able to come and do this and talk to you. It's like not real life for me. So I really enjoy it, but I'm happy where I am. And I guess, I mean,
does it really feel like a previous world to you, like a previous life?
It does, yeah. But it really does. It feels like a previous life and not real. And like I said, I get to come here and get to have fun. But that character would never have flown today. And I think regardless of what had happened, I would have been off TV within a year or two.
If we go back before Muhammad Hassan and you were in OVW, who was Marc Magnus?
Marc Magnus was this year's model. So he was cocky. He was cream of the crop. Still a heel, loved playing a heel, but very different from Hassan. It was kind of like pretty boy, I'm better than you at everything. That was kind of the gimmick that Jimmy had written. And it really started to take off. And then I like playing that character. That was probably just as fun as playing Hassan because I got to be mean and say things and get the crowd to boo and generate heat. And it was always good heat. There's a difference between good and bad heat. And I felt like both characters were able to generate good heat. People just wanted to boo me. They wanted to hate me, which is good.
And then, so that character is pretty successful, right? You're OVW champion.
Yep.
And then Jim Cornette comes to you and says, they've got this idea for you.
Yep.
How does he pitch it to you?
God, I think it was Jim and Arn Anderson, I think was there at the time. And we really didn't know what that character was going to be. They pitched the idea and we knew about Shawn, but we weren't sure other than I was going to be an Arab. It was going to generate a lot of heat. He talked to me about traveling with Sheik back in the day and, all the heat that it generated. And are you up for this? And I mean, you don't say no. I remember talking to Rip Rogers, who was a trainer there at the time. And he's like, I'm not ready for this. He's like, you never know if you're ready. He's like, you got to jump into the fire and see if you burn. He said, it's not like that, like one of Rip's sayings, but I wasn't going to say no. And it sounded fascinating. And then Shawn came in and we had great chemistry and it kind of took off. We were at the house shows when we first started, just trying different things, seeing what the crowd would boo at or if they would even cheer. I don't think we really had a decision made until after the second or third vignette that we filmed in Connecticut before I debuted about what that character was going to be. Were people going to cheer him? Because I am kind of telling the truth. We could have an ethnic demographic that might cheer that character on. But I think the way that I interrupted and the way that character was presented once I got on TV and after those vignettes became more and more aggressive, I mean, it was obviously that they were going to boo, but we kind of filmed those in order, waiting to see the reaction.
Is your background, like you're not Arab American?
I am not. I am 100% Sicilian. Yes. And Shawn is not Arab either. He's Iranian. He's Persian. So again, like I still hear about that, like that I played an Arab character. It's like, it's all phony, man. It's a character on TV. It's the same thing. But with Shawn speaking Farsi, it really tied the whole thing together. And that's what really started generating a lot of heat.
It's just so funny to me that people believed that. Like people believed that what you were saying was your truth.
Right.
It was just the character's truth.
And again, it was an easy character to fall into. They believed it. We would dress up when we traveled. and just people's reactions to seeing, a pretty big Arab and his sidekick there with the head, the glasses, dressed in suits. I mean, people like, we were heavy, man. People looked at us like, watch out for these guys.
Yeah, and it was 2004. So at that point, and it was just about 3 years after 9/11, right? Mm-hmm. So at a different time.
It was a very different time in this country. And it was obviously not a great time to be Arab in this country. And so that character really did speak the truth. And I do hear from people who are Arab or Middle Eastern quite frequently about how they identified as that character or with that character and how important it was to them, which is really cool to hear that you actually could have an impact like that on someone's life playing a character. Yeah. But it wasn't just an Italian playing the character that was important. It was what that character was saying and what he stood for. And really the hypocrisy that character was up against in the WWE was really what shone through on that character.
Yeah, that's what's so interesting about that character is the hypocrisy. Like he is speaking things that are true, and then they're getting booed.
Oh yeah.
It's like they didn't want to look in the mirror and go, this is actually what's happening right now.
Absolutely not. It was true. I mean, everything that I was saying was true. Maybe not the way I was saying it was probably wasn't the most politic way to say something, but everything was true. And no one likes being shown the ugly side of them. And so you put a mirror on somebody and their hypocrisy and you call them out on it. And that's what that heat was. It was good heat. It was, we don't want to see you heat, not like we don't watch you, but they hated me.
Your entrance theme didn't help that.
Someone told me it was their favorite entrance theme of all time yesterday. I was like, yeah, but it was pretty cool. Like
of all time?
Of all time. I know. I don't know. You're probably just saying that, but yeah, no, I love that entrance theme. But it's still pretty catchy.
It is. It also generates a reaction the second you hear it.
Yeah. Oh yeah. There's no mistaking what's going on when you hear the song. Yeah.
It's like, I don't think we like these people.
Yes.
Yeah. And then they're going to come out here and yell at us.
Especially back then.
Yeah. Especially back then.
So did you catch the interview that I did on 6 Feet Under with Mark Calloway? I'm laughing because they referred to Blue Chew as steroids for your, well, you know what I'm talking about here. And while those are their words, not mine, I can't say that I disagree. Blue Chew is a unique online service that delivers the same active ingredients as Viagra, Cialis, and Levitra, but at a fraction of the cost and in a chewable form. And the process is simple. Sign up at BlueChew.com, consult with one of their licensed medical providers, and once you're approved, you'll receive your prescription within days. And I think the best part about it is it's all done online, so no going to the doctor, no awkward conversations. Hey, how's everything working down there? No waiting in line at the pharmacy either. The bottom line here is Blue Chew wants to help you. Discover your options at BlueChew.com, and your first month is free when you use our new code CVV. You guys used up the other code, so they had to make a new one for us. The code is CVV, and your first month is free when you use it. You just have to cover the $5 for shipping. That's BlueChew.com. Use my code. The new code is CVV, and your first month is free. You just have to pay $5 for shipping.
When did the character really start to pick up momentum? Was it right after the debut?
Picked up momentum right after the debut, and then I think what really put that character on the map was working with Shawn Michaels. I had done some smaller angles, but working with Shawn and then eventually Hulk Hogan, I think that was kind of where I felt that character was at the top of its game. In the ring with someone like Shawn Michaels every night, you really can't look bad. So definitely right around then. And then it kind of ebbed and flowed a little bit up until the end.
I'd have to think there'd be some jealousy from other guys in the back. Like you're in the company for a few months and now you're in the ring with Shawn Michaels, Hulk Hogan, Austin, eventually The Undertaker. Like there's got to be some jealousy.
I think there was. I think especially when I first got there and nobody knew me, I felt like a lot more heat. Coming in and getting a push to the moon, it doesn't upset the top guys. It does upset some of the mid-card guys because they look at it as that's their spot. The top guys will tell you if that was your spot, you would have taken it, and so all the top guys treated me really well. And most of the middle card guys did too. But, there's just heat coming in and being new. And back then it was a different locker room. There wasn't a lot of rules, but I definitely had some heat during my career in the WWE.
Outside of wrestling and like being in an airport, what was the reaction just in general that you were feeling from like the media?
What do you mean?
I just feel like, especially towards the end, there was a lot of heat from people outside of the wrestling world.
Oh, I see what you're saying. Yeah. I don't know. It was kind of, It was in Time magazine. Like, it was a little bit like, wow, this is a really big deal. Wrestling was wrestling, and it's always supposed to be, a work and a show and a story, but this transcended that story. And suddenly we were in the news and on TV. I was on the local news back in Syracuse at one point without even identifying me as being from Syracuse because of that character and what had happened. Really what that got a lot of attention was once the news came out that played in London the day of the bombing. And that was kind of where the news story began. And then the pressure came after that. But it was wild, man.
What was the conversation that day when they told you like, yeah, we can't do this anymore?
God. So I remember when we didn't know where we were going to go with it. I remember when they were getting a lot of pressure, the character was going to change or come off of TV. And I remember talking to Johnny Ace, who was head of talent relations at the time. And I was like, any idea what's going on? And I said something like, I'm about to buy a house. And he's like, don't buy the house. And that's when I knew. I was like, okay. And I didn't know what was going to happen after that. But after that, it was pretty quick. We couldn't even be on TV anymore. We did the pay-per-view with Undertaker in Buffalo, and then that was it. They wouldn't even put the character back on TV in any capacity.
The last ride through the stage, right? Or off the stage?
It was through the stage. So I figured this out at a later date, but the first time I ever appeared in a WWE ring was at a house show in Louisville, Kentucky when I was in OVW. And I was Marc Magnus, and I ran into the ring during Undertaker's match, and he choke slammed and powerbombed me. And then I think it's cool that the last thing I ever did in the WWE, my last move was the choke slam, which I took horribly, by the way. And last ride through the top there. Yeah. So it's kind of bookends, you know what I mean?
Yeah. We also got, through your character, the debut of Tommaso Ciampa. Do you remember working with him?
Oh, yeah. He was the lawyer.
Yes.
He looked so different. Sean pointed that out to me a while ago, and I was like, oh my God, he looked complete. I remember he had like long, wavy hair.
Yeah. No beard, long, wavy hair.
Yeah.
Do you remember even interacting with him that day?
Not much. It was a tough day.
Yeah.
Not much. But no, it's cool. He's still doing it.
Yeah, he's fantastic.
Yeah. It's
just so funny that that was almost 20 years ago.
It was almost 20 years ago.
And
they keep going by, man. Like 15, 16, now I think it's 18 years, but yeah.
What are your memories of WrestleMania 21? It was LA, right?
It was draining. It was LA. My family was out there. It was draining. I do remember that. Just the excitement and the nerves and, just the moment. But I remember Hulk was amazing. It was a lot of fun working with him. And I got to work in the ring with Eugene, who was Nick Dinsmore, who was one of my trainers in OVW. With shows like that and crowds like that, it's like you elevate off the ground. That's how you feel when they're cheering. Like when Hogan Views it hit in Madison Square Garden when I was wrestling Shawn Michaels, I felt like I was rising off the ring because it was so loud. So big moments, really cool. I remember working in the ring and not a whole lot after that. It was just such a big moment for me.
When you watch it back, there's a moment when Hogan's coming out and it cuts to the crowd and Adam Sandler's there.
Yeah.
Like cheering him on.
Yeah, I know. It was awesome.
I mean, that's the cool thing about WrestleMania in LA.
Oh, yeah.
Because you never know who's going to be there.
Mm-hmm.
When you think about your entire WWE run, it's 9 months?
Jeez, yeah, about that. Yeah. I think I was on house shows for a little longer. But yeah, as far as being
less
on
than
TV,
a year?
Yeah, less than a year. Yeah.
Less than a year. And you pretty much did. I mean, you did so many things. WrestleMania moment, you work with all of those greats.
Mm-hmm.
I really don't know where that character could have gone after that.
I don't know either, man. I was very fortunate, though. Very lucky. I got to work with a lot of really talented individuals and have a lot of fun, too, in the ring. When you're working with somebody that good, like those people you just named, like all of them are just experts. And it's so easy when you're new coming in and being green to work with somebody that good. But we really were shot to the moon and we got a huge push. Who knows? I guess you'll never know.
Was that a Vince McMahon decision when you guys came in? He was just like, we're going to make this thing happen for you guys.
I was told later that it was Vince's baby. Like that whole idea of bringing back an Arab character was Vince's idea.
Wow.
And he was very, big on the idea. So I think that's obviously why we got that big push.
Did you or did you not win the Intercontinental Championship?
I did for a split second. I think it should be in the books.
Why isn't it?
I don't know, but I think it should be because that's the only belt I've ever won in the WWE. And I had it for at least 5 seconds. So I feel like it should be, 2005 Intercontinental Champion Muhammad Hassan, but it's not recorded anymore.
Yeah, so what's the story here? Why is it not legit?
I don't know, man. Steve Austin reversed the call. He probably forged the books too, but no, that was, and Shelton's awesome. But yeah, I would love to have that distinguishment too, of being able to say I won a title in WWE.
And
Never happened.
When you go back and watch it, sure looks like you won the
Clearly,
title.
I won the title.
Yeah.
Clearly. But he didn't see it that way.
Is there truth to the fact that you were next in line to win the WWE Championship from Batista?
I heard that, and I don't know where it originally came from, but I was supposed to, as far as I know, beat the Undertaker, obviously with a lot of help, and then wrestle Batista at WrestleMania in Washington, D.C. Dave was announced as being he is from Washington, D.C., so it was kind of like the Arab beats the hometown boy in the nation's capital was supposed to be the story.
Wow.
Yeah.
And obviously, we didn't get that.
We did not get that, no.
So when it all comes to an end, what made you not want to stay in wrestling?
It took me a while to really figure it out. I think I was a little depressed. I was definitely heartbroken, turned off. And the constant traveling and the spotlight, it was fun while it lasted, but it wasn't for me. And it took me a while to figure out that I just didn't want to get back in there because it really was a huge heartbreaking moment for me. You work so hard, you spend so much time, just training, preparing, and then it's all taken away kind of for no reason. I didn't do anything, I didn't bomb any place. And I understand why the character was taken off TV. It absolutely had to be. But I think that was the heartbreak for me, is that I was just out there doing the best that I could, and it kind of just was pulled out. The rug was pulled out from under me.
Again, you were too good.
I guess so.
You were too good at your job.
Yeah.
If you're wanting to burn some extra calories or sweat out some toxins from a particularly big evening of food and drinks and indulging, check out the infrared sauna blanket from Bond Charge. I've been using this since last year, and I love how it raises your body temperature while you're just kind of sitting there relaxing, reading a book or watching TV. A session's usually 30 to 40-ish minutes, and you can burn up to 600 calories in one session. I was looking into getting a sauna because I knew of all the health benefits associated with it. And I knew it would complement the cold plunging really well. I do it every day, like I start the day with a cold plunge and then right into the sauna, so extreme cold, and then into the heat. Then I saw the cost of a sauna, and an infrared sauna blanket from Bond Charge is a fraction of that price. And I think it might actually be better because you just kind of roll it out and crawl into it, kind of like a sleeping bag. It heats up in just a minute, and then you just let it do its thing. And I always feel so refreshed when I'm done with the infrared sauna blanket. Head to bondcharge.com/CVV to check out the infrared sauna blanket and use my code CVV. You'll save 15% on it. They've got free lightning fast worldwide shipping, and you're covered with a 12-month warranty. So that's bondcharge.com/CVV and the code CVV to save 15%.
Why not rebrand you, make you Marc Magnus again?
I had that conversation with several people at the time, and it is possible, but I wasn't going to be on TV for a long time because Hassan came so quick and had such a huge impact. They didn't feel like anybody would recognize me as another character, at least for a long time. And so that's why I was off TV and I was home, and then we ended up parting ways maybe a year later in the WWE. And after that, I just didn't want to do it anymore. I want to do other things. And like I said, that huge letdown, I think kind of just changed my perspective on things.
And then made you fall out of love with wrestling?
For a long time, yeah. I would not face it for a long time. And that's why I never did a lot of signings or appearances or went anywhere else. It was almost like I was trying to avoid the reality of what had happened to me and as that character. But now, years later, like I look back on it and I think it was a cool trip, and sometimes because of it, my kids think I'm cool, and that's awesome. I'll take it when I can get it.
How long did it take you to be able to come to terms with that?
10 years.
Wow.
Probably.
And is that when you did it was the article with Sean Ross Sapp, right? Right around that time? No, maybe that was a little longer.
A little bit later.
Yeah.
A little bit later.
What made you, I don't know, kind of close the chapter on that?
I don't know. Sometimes there's no rhyme or reason why I choose to do an interview or not, but he had a great pitch. He pitched that story more as a entire piece about what had happened. And he did a great job. I love that story. I just saw him yesterday. Closing the chapter and then moving into education and just kind of finding my life, I think, after 10 plus years, I think is kind of what brought me back around.
Yeah.
I don't avoid it anymore.
And, I got to thank Sean. He was the one that originally connected us when we did that Zoom interview 3 years ago.
It was a long time ago, man. I'd love to see it. I should have watched before I came here, see how much less gray hair I had.
And you're just as handsome as you were in that video. There's nothing like doing these in person, though.
Yeah,
like, nothing quite like that.
Zoom was a weird time, man. Zoom meetings were a memory I would like to not have anymore.
Especially working in education. It was probably so weird.
Everything was Zoom.
Were
classrooms.
all
Oh, yeah. When we were virtual and we did hybrid, like half the kids were in school, half are learning at home. It was very challenging to be a principal at that time to try to arrange schedules and make something that could really serve the needs of students in any capacity. So
I remember when I was in school, this is the late 90s, like suck it was such a big thing, right?
Yeah.
I wonder with the renaissance of wrestling right now, what teachers and principals are going to have to deal with in this era, right? What are you guys going to have to be banning now?
Yeah, that's a great question. I have no idea.
Yeah, because wrestling is certainly teetering on not being PG anymore.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
That's what I hear.
There's some stuff going on there. So it'll be very interesting to see what that is.
And it's cool to see kids walk around with wrestling shirts. They all ask if I know, like, the newer guys like Roman Reigns and, like Seth. And I don't know any of them. I've never met any of them, but I do enjoy watching them. They're really talented. But it's cool to see them because they know me, but they don't really know. They were all too, not born to watch me when I was wrestling. But it's positive interactions whenever wrestling comes up in school.
In a way, it's almost like you have two very separate lives, right? Like you had the life of, I was this professional wrestler's WWE superstar up until this very specific moment when this thing happened. And then this new life began after that. Mm-hmm. Is it strange?
It's strange. Like I was just laughing the whole time downstairs. It's just so funny to me that people will pay to actually have me sign something. I'm like, I said to the guys that I was with, I was like, all I do is sign things at work. Like that's my job to sign things at work. It's just so funny to me. And it's cool. It really is. Like I really do appreciate it, but it is two different worlds. Like I said, that is life and this is not real life, and to be able to live both of them right now is kind of cool.
You had a match though, like you returned, was it 2018?
I think so. Yeah.
What made you want to go back in the ring?
It's funny. I was just there to sign and you always bring your gear with you. So I was going to do a signing and the guy was like, do you want to wrestle a match? I was like, yeah, I guess I do. Like there was no big story. There was no huge, it was just kind of like, well, you're here and you want to wrestle. And I was like, yeah, why not? So I put my stuff on, got in the ring, messed around a little bit and then ended up just wrestling a match for like 10, 15 minutes. It was a lot of fun. And then I did like one or two more. It's kind of like, I just wanted to see if I could do it again. Like it had been so long and I really enjoyed the wrestling aspect of being a wrestler, like being in the ring and working with somebody in the ring. So I just did it. There was not a lot of thought put into it, man. It was spontaneous.
Was there ever thought of like, oh, this could turn into a run?
No, absolutely not. I don't want to travel. I don't want to do, absolutely not. And I don't want to put my body through that. It's been rough enough as it is getting old, like I said. So absolutely not. Never. I just wanted to have a couple matches. They were small local shows, local promoters, nice guys. So it was just something to do. I did, I think 2 or 3 matches and that was it. I'll never do it again.
You always hear wrestlers after they retire talking about how they miss the reaction from the crowd. They miss that pop, right? Whether it's cheers or boos, they miss it. And it's a drug that you can't replicate with anything else. Did you miss that when you were gone?
A little bit. And not as much as you might think. But I was very much compartmentalizing everything that had happened. So like I do miss it. I do miss the reaction, but it's not anything that I crave and anything that I am looking forward to or wanting to do again. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Like I said, that was a different life for me now.
But 2005, 6, 7, were you thinking like, well, if I did this, we could get back there. If I tried this.
I wasn't. I dropped it and I was done. Like I avoided it at all costs.
That never happens in wrestling. You're like the one person.
That's what I hear, but I needed amazing. To be completely away from it to move on.
Yeah.
And it took, like I said, a long time. And that's why I detached myself because I just didn't want any encounter with wrestling whatsoever. I avoided it and I avoided the heartbreak and the feelings. And so I never thought of coming back. I was done. And that was kind of my feeling about it.
Did you have moments in the months after you were let go where people are recognizing you?
Oh, yeah.
And then it's a constant reminder of the life that was.
Yeah, well, I lived in LA not too long after, and no one really cared about me, so that was nice.
That's kind of the great thing about LA.
It's
right?
kind of a great thing knowing no one's impressed.
Yeah,
so,
you see these celebrities all the time.
But I would go home, and that would happen at home. And I like I said, I avoided it, and I didn't talk about it much. But obviously, I'd always say hi to somebody and be cordial.
Is LA where you became friends with Shad?
No, I had been friends with Shad since Louisville. We were in OVW together.
Wow.
And so we were down there for years. We hung out all the time. And LA is where Shad and I had originally written a screenplay called Assassin and Son. So he was traveling and I wasn't. And so he would come stay with me. We work on it collaboratively. We talk over the phone late nights after shows. And we wrote Assassin and Son was a screenplay that years later Shad actually produced into a graphic novel. And then the funny thing is now State Street Productions, Scout Comics are taking the graphic novel and rewriting it as a screenplay.
Wow.
And so we had announced a while ago that we're working with State Street Productions. They're amazing. So we had a creative meeting not too long ago. It looks like it takes time, but it looks like it's on track. And I love the ideas that these guys have. So I'm super confident and I was just thrilled after that meeting.
Last time you were on the show, we talked about Assassin and Son as the graphic novel.
Yep.
How did that launch go and how did everything go with that?
Not bad. We didn't release a lot of them. Unfortunately, we only had very old files, and those files couldn't really be updated to the quality of comics that people are used to. But we really were just doing that as a pitch, as a selling point. And so once Scout started shopping the idea around, we hooked up with State Street, and the whole goal was to get it made into a movie. I'm super excited, and I hope I can't wait for it to happen. It's gonna be a great movie. That's one of the most favorite things that I have done in my life is working on that with Shad.
Wow. Yeah. Everyone I talked to about Shad has nothing but great things to say about him. It just sounds like he was such a great person.
Selfless. He's definitely saved my butt a few times too. Selfless and fierce. Like no one's messing with Shad. But somebody said at his memorial, I loved it, Shad would give you the shirt off his back if he ever wore a shirt, because that was Shad. He never wore a shirt, but selfless guy. He'd do anything for anybody.
Was there a particular promo in WWE that you were given and you were like, I can't believe we're going to go out there and say this? Not
really, because I was really got to a point where I was given ideas, and it's like, just go out there and do. You can't really script, especially with the reaction from the crowd, some of those promos, because the crowd reaction is going to drown you out. So we'd be given ideas. We go out and we just kind of talk. Like a lot of it was improvised. And it was so easy to be my character, because if I got lost or if I got stuck and I couldn't remember something or couldn't find the words, I would just stop and they would start booing. It was the best built-in like safety net you could possibly have. And so, or they were doing what at the time. So they would chant what. So those promos were, those were a lot of fun. That might be my most favorite thing to do, but they were pretty unscripted for the most part.
That's what's interesting about your characters. People remember the promos more than the wrestling. And maybe that's just memorable, right?
I don't know how to take that.
Yeah,
wrestling was forgettable, but that was mediocre at best. I totally get it. But the promos, I think, because of what was said and the impact that had on people, I think that's why people remember them.
Yeah. And that's not to say your wrestling wasn't great.
Sorry.
It's that your promos were that like so memorable.
Yeah, they were a lot of fun, and they were impactful, man. They generated a ton of heat.
Like obviously I don't know this for a fact, but I don't know if you wrestled the match without a promo. It feels like you came out every time and had to cut a promo.
I don't think I did. And it was draining sometimes. I was young. I didn't know what I was doing, and I was going to a show and doing a backstage vignette, then a promo in the ring, and then a match. A big part of that show was a lot of pressure at that age, but I was busy all the time.
How did you stay in that kind of shape when you were on the road?
I got out of good shape when I was on the road. Like the first promo pictures of me, where I don't know, I still have them. They're white background. I was like ripped. And by the one where I'm in black, I definitely look like I put on 10 pounds. It's really hard on the road. It's hard to have that consistency, and it's hard to eat, because it's like you got to eat fast food all the time. It's not like you can meal prep and bring it on the plane with you. I mean, I guess you could, but it's tough to stay in shape like that.
Yeah, when you're getting off of Raw and it's 11:30 or midnight, what's open?
Nothing. I used to eat peanut butter and jelly sandwiches, Uncrustables. They would have them in the truck. I'd go back, they'd give me a handful every time. I was starving by the end of the night.
I bet you were. Although isn't catering great?
Catering's great, but it's only for before the show.
Oh.
So I don't think so there was really not much to eat afterwards.
Well, you made it work.
Yeah, thank you. I appreciate it.
And obviously your diet's super dialed in now.
I am. I really like I always say that what keeps me in good shape is my focus on my diet. I count everything. I count my macros. I'll even count alcohol if I have alcohol in a night. I'll count all those calories, and I enjoy doing that. It's not a burden for me. It's not a hardship. Like I would be uncomfortable almost not doing it. Like it's tough when I have days where I don't. But huge in my diet. Run all the time. I never did cardio when I was younger. I didn't have to. I was wrestling, you know, and I work out moderately. I don't push it, but you know, time under tension, nice controlled reps. I really enjoy it.
Where do you track your macros? Like on an app?
MyFitnessPal.
Oh, yeah. Same one.
Yeah.
I don't look like that though. Yeah, maybe
not
one
too
day.
far off. Yeah.
I don't know. It's just a very tight shirt. Very tight shirt. I wonder when we'll see you again, like at one of these cons.
I don't know. I might do. I mean, I know it's in Minneapolis next year.
Is that official?
That's what I had heard anyway.
It's still rumor, but yeah.
Okay. That's what I had heard yesterday, but I would go there. I mean, I would do these bigger shows, but probably not. I don't know. Probably not for a couple of years.
Well, it's good to see you.
No one's going to come get my autograph if I come to every show.
Oh, yeah. That's true.
Yeah.
And when you say you sign stuff at work all day, you're definitely not signing as Muhammad Hassan.
I'm definitely not signing as Muhammad Hassan. No, absolutely not.
What was it like back then? People wanted autographs and merch from baby faces.
Mm-hmm.
Are they asking for autographs from heels?
They were, but I wasn't allowed to sign autographs.
Really?
I was not allowed to. Yeah. And it was tough because, you know, I had kids who come up and ask me, and I would always sneak one in for the kids if no one was watching. But yeah, we were our characters when we traveled, when we went to the arena, all the way to the hotel room.
There's just total kayfabe.
Yeah.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
So if someone came up to you and asked for an autograph, what would you say?
No.
Wow.
I was off. No, I'd have to say no. And people would get pissed.
I bet.
And I get it, but it's like, I'm like, all right, dude, I'm just doing my job.
But they don't get that.
You wanted them to be pissed. You know, that same guy's going to be at the show later that day and he's going to be booing the crap out of me.
Wow.
That's what they wanted. Yeah.
Wow. They told you not to sign autographs.
Yeah.
Or not to take photos?
Yeah. No photos either. Different time back then. I don't think they do that now. It's more accepted as a show, but even back then, they try to keep some sort of reality, you know, continuity between the show and real life with a character like that.
I don't think people realize you guys stayed in character all the time.
Pretty much, yeah.
I don't know if there was anyone else at that time staying in character the whole time. Like Kane's not going to the airport wearing a mask.
No, I don't think anybody really did it back then. There might have been one or two, but yeah.
Like
That's what we were told
John Cena's not rapping to people at the airport.
You never know. He might have been.
That's true. He might have been.
Yeah. No, that was it, man. We were heels the whole time.
Wild. And you did it.
Yeah.
How often do you keep in touch with Sean now? Sean Davari.
We went out last night, Sean and I. Probably had a few too many last night. We hadn't seen each other since last year.
Yeah.
He was in town, I think it was last year, Easter, and he came to my family's house for dinner. And we talk every couple weeks, couple months.
And he's doing big things in WWE.
He's awesome, man. He always had that mind for wrestling. So he's working, he's there today, but he's very successful.
Yeah, for people who don't know, he's working behind the scenes as a producer.
Yep.
His story is wild. Was he 19 when he joined you?
God, I think he was like 14. I said he was 19. He was young. But yeah, he was like right out of high school, I think, when he joined us.
That's wild.
Yeah. He was the baby of OVW.
And you guys made it work.
Yeah. Oh, he's great, man. We had great chemistry. We're good friends. And we got to be really close when we were traveling. Because him and I traveled together, usually just us. Sometimes Snitsky would ride with us or Chris Masters, but we got pretty tight. He's awesome. Great guy.
You're awesome. You're a great guy. So good to be able to catch up with you in person.
Absolutely, man.
What a story you have.
Well, thank you. Yeah.
How long till Dark Side of the Ring reaches out to you? Have they reached out to you?
I hope they don't, man. Those shows are always so depressing about bad stuff. Like I don't need that, but no, I've never heard from anybody.
You're the character that, never got to, be seen all the way through.
Yeah, the what if.
You're the what if.
I am.
This is a Dark Side of the Ring story for sure.
Yeah.
I've now put it out there for you. You're going to get a call for next season, I bet.
Thank you. Hopefully they don't make it look too tragic.
No, your story is what it is.
Yeah.
I end every interview with gratitude because it's a huge part of my life. I wake up every day and I say out loud 3 things I'm grateful for. I do it at the end of every day too. What are 3 things that you're grateful for?
My family, first and foremost. My wife, who is very understanding and amazing, and my colleagues as well. And I'm really thankful to have the opportunity to work in education with kids and with the adults that teach the kids every day.
I love it. Thank you, Marc.
Yeah, thank you.
You're awesome.